with a class 8, we have started chapter 1 of civics. Yesterday we have discussed half part of the chapter. Now let us move further. So let us do some of the key features of the Indian Constitution. So the key features means the main features, the why, what is the key essence of our constitution. So here when we talk about the Constituent Assembly, so Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar, he is called the father of the Indian Constitution. And while the constitution was being prepared at the time, this thing was kept in mind that the so-called untouchables, they were, or the Dalits, they were discriminated in our society from the time immemorial. And in the coming time, means in the independent India, those communities should also be given equality, political equality and economic equality. When we talk about political equality, then universal little franchise or suffrage, according to that all the people, irrespective of their caste, color, creed, gender, religion, region, etc., are given right to vote. So there we talk about political equality. As far as economic equality is concerned, then some kind of reservations have been made for the people of lower caste or SC, BC, ST, other backward classes, so that these people can have equal opportunities in education, in profession, so that these people can also come up in economic sphere. So let us discuss some of the key features. And when we talk about our Constituent Assembly, there were around 300 members, its members, and they started preparing our and in the beginning of the chapter we have discussed that in 1946 the demand of the Indian Constitution was made. And then after our this Constituent Assembly, they started preparing our constitution. Then it took nearly 3 years to prepare the constitution. So see the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, so he worked for the upliftment of the Dalits, and then temple entry into the temples for Dalits. He worked for that also. So the members of Constituent Assembly, they were from different states. They were from different work fields, means different spheres of life. All the people, they were kept in the assembly. They all were scholars, well educated people. And finally we had our constitution. So let us discuss that how the diversity is accommodated in our country, and then we all work or together or preserve the national unity. So the first feature of our constitution is federalism. When we talk about federalism, it means existence of more than one level of government in the country. What are these levels? Central government for the entire country, then we have state governments for different states, and means each state has its own state government. Then we have local self bodies. In this we have municipalities, municipal corporations, and panchayati raj system. So this is federalism, means existence of two or more levels of government. And in this type of government, the state governments are not subordinate to the state center government. They are not the center government cannot pass on orders to the state governments, means both the units work independent of each other, and powers and functions of each tier of government are specified in the constitution. And each level of government has its own financial resources also, means the revenues. Then we have uh, parliamentary form of government. When we talk about parliamentary form of government, it means the people, they elect their representatives through voting, and these representatives, they form and run the government. Okay, in other words, we can say that the country is run by the representatives who are elected by the people, the common people. And here is the reference of universal adult suffrage for all citizens, means all the people, they of 18 years and above, they have right to vote, and they cast their vote to elect their representatives. Then we have separation of powers. Separation of powers, listen, in the first point, federalism, we were discussing about different levels of government, and we are here, separation of powers, we are talking about different organs of the government. And the government, there are three organs of the government. First, legislature makes the laws, then executive implements the laws, and then the next one is judiciary, who gives judgment, or who has the right to interpret the constitution. It gives the judgment on the basis of the laws written in our constitution. So all these organs, they use their powers and checks the work of each other, thus it maintains a balance. So this system is also called the system of checks and balances. And if we talk about judiciary, we have district courts at district level, then we have high court in all the states, and some states they have common high courts also, and then we have Supreme Court for the entire country. Next, fundamental rights. All the citizens, they are given fundamental rights. These fundamental rights guarantee our freedom. Okay, so some of the fundamental rights, see, we have 6 fundamental rights. First, right to equality, means all the people, irrespective of their caste, color, gender, creed, race, area of birth, language, region, religion, are treated as equal. Nobody can be discriminated on either of the basis. Second, right to freedom. Right to freedom, freedom to speech or freedom to express. Then the right to form associations, move freely, and reside any part of the country. Okay, to do any kind of work, to or practice any profession, any business. Then right against exploitation. It prohibits human trafficking, forced labor means begar, then children means that is called child labor. That is also a crime. That the children under the age of 14 cannot be employed on any of the work. Then right to freedom of religion, means all the people, they are free to profess and propagate their religion, and if they want to adopt or embrace any other religion, they can do the same. Cultural and educational rights. Here the constitution also says that the all minorities, then religious and linguistic groups, they can set up their own educational institutions in order to preserve and propagate or develop their own culture. Then right to constitutional remedies, this is the most important, I think, because it allows the citizens to move to the court if they believe that any of their fundamental rights have been violated by the state. So because it guarantees this right to constitutional remedies, it gives the guarantee, or it guarantees that none of our fundamental rights can be violated by anyone, even by the state. If any of our rights is violated by the state, then we can go to the court. The next one is secularism. Secularism means that the state do not follow any one religion, or we can say that a secular state is one in which the state does not officially promote any one religion, means all the religions are given equal status. Here there is one unique thing in about our constitution, or the secularism, Indian secularism, that our country, the state or the government cannot interfere in any of the religious activities. But if any of the religion says that female infanticide can be done, or a human sacrifice can be done according to their religion, then the state will interfere, because killing someone is a crime, and if somebody does it, that person should be punished. In that case, our state will interfere. Okay, otherwise in any of the religious activity, the state do not interfere. So these are some of the key features of our Indian Constitution. But this is today I have told about the summary of this chapter, and if you have any question or query, you can discuss with me in the class. Have a nice day.